Hi everyone, this is Mr. Wang and welcome to my channel. If you are a senior math student or teach it, this video can change the way you see Year 12 exam questions. Today we are diving into multi-entry and exit structure and how understanding it can turn tough questions into solvable ones. And in fact, once you know how to properly decode the question, recognize the explicit clues, spot the hidden hints, and use the built-in checkpoints, solving this question becomes really fun and satisfying. Every senior math question has more than one way to start and more than one way to finish. Your job is to recognize the support provided, use them, and move with intent. Let's get into it. The term multi-entry and exit points is a teacher language. It refers to tasks that allow students to begin learning from different starting points and to demonstrate their understanding at various levels. In exam, these entry points are usually supported by scaffolds, so the test taker can record their prior knowledge for the task for the question and follow a step-by-step structure to solve a complicated question. I also write exam questions for my own students, and when I design a question, I'm thinking about giving students the opportunity to demonstrate the full C to I band standards. So all students have something they can do and somewhere they can go. All exam questions are written in this way. Let's use 2025 Specialist Math exam question to explain. Question 5 asks students to find the area of an irregular quadrilateral. This is not an easy question, and there is no formula to find the area of that, and there is very limited information about that. Many students may not know where to start and what techniques are needed. The exam writer surely want to see a normal distribution of students' result, where most students sit in the easy range. So let's identify the entry points and the supporting information for these tasks. Let's use a metaphor and think of question 5 like climbing a mountain. The test taker can choose different starting points up to the mountain, and they can also exit the hike at any different summit or viewpoint and anytime they want, and maybe come back later. In this picture, I've highlighted the points where students could begin. One reason I choose this question is because the vector algebra part this year was quite unusual. Many students struggled at the first step because they didn't recognize the vector cross product symbol. From the feedback I received this year, some students even believed that the question was wrong at first. However, if you're one of my students, you should know that you don't have to start from the first point. You can enter the problem from any of the later stage. And in fact, the final step is often the easiest one. For this particular question, you could even ignore every previous part and simply input the relevant data into the graphic calculator to reach the final answer and get the last 2 marks within probably 15 seconds if you are a fluent calculator user. If you want to complete the entire mountain trail, you must be able to recognize the signposts and build in checkpoints along the way. Let's look at signposts first. The exam question is usually designed in a way that provides students with guidance, hints, and direction markers that prompt you to recall the relevant concepts and techniques you've already learned, so you can keep moving step by step rather than getting stuck at the base of the mountain. Just like how we look at a map or overview of a hike before choosing a trail, You should read every part of a multi-step math question before attempting part 1, part A. You need to understand the writer's intention. What concept is the question targeting? What skills do they want you to demonstrate? What is the final summit? A skilled test taker is essentially having a conversation with the test writer. In question 5, for example, the final summit is to calculate the area of an irregular quadrilateral. Then all early parts are there to support that goal, providing information, structure, and stepping stones that can help you to climb to the final answer. According to retrieval queue theory, when students recognize the overall purpose of the question and connect it with the signposts along the way, they have more retrieval cues or memory markers, making it easier to recall the mathematical concepts and techniques. Some signpost language is clear and explicit, such as strong instructional verbs like derive, prove, verify, or show. Other phrases could be by considering, using your result from part A, B, or C, or hence also push you in a certain direction. Sometimes you will say the phrase like hence or otherwise, and usually you ignore otherwise. As I said that a skilled exam teacher is engaged in a dialogue with the exam writer. And when the writer is talking in a friendly and inclusive tone, the test taker still takes the intended path, then, not otherwise. Other signposts are more subtle and sometimes woven into earlier or later parts of the question. In question 5, part C asks you to find the area of quadrilateral ODEF by providing values for beta I and B. But the formula for that quadrilateral was actually embedded in an earlier show that step. If you spotted this implicit signpost, you have the two ready. Now let's look at built-in checkpoints. The most common language signal for checkpoints are phrases like show that, verify that. This tells students what the final answer should look like. And if your working doesn't really lead you to that result, you can backtrack, find the slip, and self-correct. In addition, using your results from part A to solve part B can be both signpost and checkpoint. This is because if you can't use your part A to solve part B, it's a strong indicator that something went wrong and you need to check and correct yourself. The same question here, we can see that each step has a checkpoint, where B2 is also an implicit checkpoint for B1. So if you make a question in B1, you can't show your B2. If you get a chance to look at the 2025 Specialist Math exam, the message is very clear. The vast majority of questions are built with checkpoints. When used them properly, these checkpoints leave very little room for human error. My interpretation is that these exam writers are building questions directly under the performance standards, because only CT2 is about accuracy, so the exam isn't designed to punish human errors. It's designed to review a student's mathematics thinking, concepts, techniques, and problem-solving skills across all the standards. Now that we understand the rationale behind the exam design, let's look at 5 strategies to maximize your grade. First, become fluent with exam language. Students should familiarize themselves with common wording and signals in questions. Understanding expressions like exact value, verify, hence, or show that is essential. Second, practice interpreting intention. You need to think from the examiner's perspective. what they want me to demonstrate. For example, if the question asks for the exact value, they want you to solve it algebraically, not using digital device. Third, train signpost and checkpoint recognition daily. During practice, actively look for signposts and building checkpoints. The more you train your brain to detect these signals, the quicker you retrieve concepts and techniques, and the fewer marks you lose. Fourth, build strategies for multi-entry and exit questions, literally every questions. After developing these the first three skills, you can apply them strategically. Not knowing part A is not the end, you can start part B and use the final result as a target, then work backwards. I often train my students who struggle with math to complete the final step of a complicated question, such as induction, rate of change, or integration, or whatever. Surprisingly, the final step is often just an Year 10 level algebra question, as long as you can interpret it correctly. Finally, use deliberate exam-style practice. Test papers should not be done once and forgotten. Complete them using the exam skills we discussed today. Then, reflect on the results and identify avoidable mistakes. To be more powerful, use spaced repetition. Leave the test paper for a few weeks and then repeat. To wrap up, multi-entry and exit questions aren't just exam design features. They are an opportunity. When you learn to recognize the signposts, use checkpoints, and approach questions flexibly, you are communicating with the test writer. You are navigating it with intention. You are aiming to approach your differentiated goals. So study the language, train your pattern recognition, and practice it with purpose. If you do that, Year 12 math becomes predictable, manageable, and you may find it surprisingly enjoyable and satisfying. It's just so beautiful. Thanks for watching. I'm Mr. Wang. Subscribe here if you find this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.